Okay, tell me what you've seen at the cinema, mate. What have you seen this year?
One of my favorite movies this year is a musical. I mean, it's only like it's not even like the end of January, but I've seen like I think three, four movies at the cinema. Um, but the one that really caught me off guard, I went in sort of knowing it would probably be good, but if you sort of shade me on paper, like in sort of early 2025, there's going to be a movie about the life of Robbie Williams. That would have been sort of I'm never going to see that film. And it was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. Had a real energy to it, a darkness to it, a level of experimentation. Because obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, I'm sure as most listeners are aware, the central conceit is that they have Robbie Williams. He's doing his own voice, but they represent him as a chimpanzee, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of the best things I've seen in this sort of year of meager cinematic offerings that I've actually bothered to go and see and stuff like that. And I never liked Robbie Williams. I've not liked his music. I don't like his voice. I've never warmed to him as a person. And and Angels, I think, is just an aberration of blight. Um,
Yeah.
and I've never liked Rock DJ. Their rendition of Angels and Rock DJ, the way they do them, the context in which they're filmed, I sort of love. I wouldn't say I love the songs, but I just love those moments in the movies. And
Mm.
it's another Aussie movie filmed largely in I don't know what it is about Australians and musicals and just filmed largely on interiors. Although I do think they film in I think they shut down Regent Street or something and shot a whole bit in the West End, which I assume was sort of recreated. And it's absolutely tanked at the box office, made no money, and, but it made me like Robbie Williams, and then I subsequently watched I don't know if it's sort of screened in America. There's a really good documentary, three-part BBC documentary on boy bands, and Robbie Williams just comes across as so knowing, funny, battered about by life, almost like sage-like, and it just the power of a musical to make me like Robbie Williams. Nosferatu, which
Yeah.
interestingly enough, I've sort of done a think about Nosferatu, and I enjoyed it. I think it's very impressive. But I'm sort of leaning a little bit more towards you because I've not wanted to go back and revisit it. There's something, and I'm not quite sure what, just something missing in terms of other Robert Eggers movies.
Yeah.
And that might be the simple fact that it's sort of based on something it can never live up to, you know. Um, and there's maybe a slight case of trying a little bit too hard to sort of square the circle and honor the original and do something a little bit new. I saw William Tell and the Class Bang historical action movie based on William Tell, which was pretty ropey, I thought. Apart from a really good mustache twirling turn from Connor Swindles as the villain, he's great. Um,
Connor Swindles. Who the
Oh,
fuck's
Connor! Oh,
that,
you don't
mate?
know him. Connor Swindles he's terrific. Well, look him up. He again. He's one of the guys from Sex Education. So he starts
Okay.
out
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
quite an unsympathetic character. He's the guy that bullies Ncuti Gatwa. Um, and then by the end of the series, he's one of your well, the end of the series, I didn't make it into season four because it was horrible. And he's great, but he's also the star of the Stephen Knight SAS Rogue Heroes, which is really good, which is sort of about the formation of the SAS in World War Two, and it's like him and Jack O'Connell are kind of like a bit of a double act in that. Um, and he's in Barbie, he's like the sort of like the guy in the boardroom that you know
Yes.
Will Ferrell bullies, and he just has a lot of range. He's supposed to be very good. I've not seen it, but he's in the Noel Fielding Dick Turpin comedy series, which has got kind of mixed reviews, but said he's great. He turns up as like kind of a bit more of an alpha highwayman, and
Hmm.
he's a very good actor. And everything I've seen him in, he just has a real range and a real presence, and there's a real kind of sparkle to what he does. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, and it's got Ben Kingsley's in it, and he's got this kind of really strange sort of period in his career where I'm just going to do any old crap now. I don't really care. He's at that point. I'll just turn up in anything. I'm Ben Kingsley. I've just got
Yeah,
nothing to
man.
prove. I'm just going to
Yeah.
enjoy myself. Just do a couple of
Why not?
turn in a slightly eccentric performance in something that is massively beneath him, and just walk off with the money. And yeah, and it's Emily Beecham. I like, but it was just a silly action movie, and sort of quite badly written. A lot of kind of modern attitudes back projected into the Middle Ages. So you can't have these kind of historical figures, these warlords, do what they do without a pep talk from a princess or a wife. And it's just that whole thing. It's like, and you just think, and even looking at the historical thing, there's a key assassination that was done by a man, that's done by a woman, and it just felt like it had been kind of committee shaped to,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
just, and then Class Banger I like, but it's, he's not a speech man. They got a bit where he delivers this rousing speech, and he's not a big speech guy, and it just feels like you kind of at a motivational seminar where everyone's dressed up as medieval people for no discernible reason. So and the other thing I saw was Wolfman,
I
which,
saw that as well.
yeah. Well, what did you think of it?
I thought it was terrible, mate.
I,
I
I
mean,
think yeah,
that's the only reason why I saw Wolfman was that I was invited to see it by the people at Nixco, kind people,
yeah,
at a big IMAX showing,
yeah,
and it was introduced by Lee Wanell. He was there.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
like him.
just
How did he come across?
came across lovely, mate. Came across
Yeah.
like a really nice guy. I didn't really like Invisible Man very much. I thought it had like some moments. I thought Invisible Man was a better film
Hmm.
than Wolfman,
No,
but
I
I
agree.
don't. There's no stakes, mate.
Hmm. Yeah.
They're not killing the wife. They're not killing the kid. There's nobody else to kill. You're just waiting for him to die. Oh, his dad's come back. Well, you knew it was going to be his dad anyway. You need stakes. Like, I don't care. Like, I thought Christopher Abbott was brilliant. I think he's always good. I think he emoted brilliantly within whatever makeup he had on, but it's not enough, mate. It's not enough. Thought some of the scripting was shit. I thought that Julia Garner was just not doing anything. I'm not saying that it's her fault. I think that's more Lee Whannell's fault and directing, as opposed to her not. I think she's a great actress. So, like, yeah, some of the dialogue was shit. Yeah, some of it was amazing. So the seeing from his point of view, seeing that was great. But apart from that, yeah, what did you
I
think?
I liked it more than you did, but I thought it was flawed. I think it was like Lee Whannell's. I mean, notwithstanding his Insidious like sequel, which I think I've seen. I can't remember too much about it, but I mean, I like the Invisible Man, but I didn't really like the ending very much. I thought the ending but I still think Upgrade's his best film. I think Upgrade's
I
brilliant.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think it was a kind of the least of those three. I like what I wish they'd done is I wish they just stuck with the prologue, and that had been the movie. Just like this dad and his son stuck in the wilderness with this monster. And I thought the beginning was really really good.
Yeah,
Um, my issue with it was it absolutely telegraphed where it was going to go.
at
Um,
every
yeah,
moment,
at
right?
every moment. So you knew the
Mm,
whole thing, which they made such a big deal about, was the what am I thinking? You read my mind, and that's going to be the thing that's kind of like sort of arrests the animal a little bit in him and stops him murdering his family. Yeah, you knew it was going to be his dad, and even the thing of like the last shot where they're looking at the wilderness and it calls back to the beginning. Everything you feel everything being sort of mapped out, and there's no surprises. But I still thought there was some effective sequences. I liked. I kind of I enjoyed it, even though it was sort of it just went exactly where I expected it to go, and there were no surprises,
mm,
and I didn't. Yeah, but yeah, it's all right. It's not as good as Invisible Man, not as good as Upgrade. Um,
yeah.
I think I like seeing people develop their signatures. So you've got he likes invisible breath, doesn't he? Because obviously they make a big thing about that in the Invisible Man, which is like terrifying. When you just first she goes outside and you just see the breath of the Invisible Man next to her, and she doesn't see it, and they basically repeat that, don't they, with the breath of the monster, even
Right.
though they call back to it, that's how she sort of kills it in the end, and all of that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, it was. I enjoyed it, but it was, yeah, I kind of agree with a lot of what you say, but with kind of less annoyance.
Less vehemence.
Yeah, and I think the fact that
Um,
I don't know if this made a difference, but the fact that I saw that before, I saw that and William Tell on the same day, and William Tell was just like, so that kind of probably elevated Wolfman a little bit because I'd seen that 1 second and it was just a bit too long as well. But that's it. That's all I've seen at the cinema. And I'm in a weird position at the moment because I've got no appetite for the big kind of incredibly well reviewed Oscar movies. So I don't. This will annoy you, but I've got no desire to see a real pain.
it's
Um,
not. It's okay, mate. It's
all right, no,
okay.
no,
I mean,
that's
it's
good.
not.
That helps. And I,
It's.
I
It's.
really
Don't
can't.
get me wrong. It's enjoyable. It is
Yeah,
enjoyable, but it's not. It's not amazing. You know.
but also,
Um.
but I mean, the film that hasn't got a shred of like anything less than praise attached to it is The Brutalist. I just,
Yeah.
I just can't be bothered. I can't be
I.
bothered with.
I've been thinking about it. I think I might have to,
Yeah.
just to do it, and also what I was thinking that there's not been a great deal of things filmed out of the cinema that I've really been desperate to see. Obviously,
Mm.
Nosferatu came out. Nosferatu, just briefly, I think maybe we said this anyway, but you were saying about like no, there was no surprises in Wolfman, which obviously I feel the same way for Nosferatu.
Yeah.
You don't that we know this story so well. Even if you don't know the story, Dracula is like massively in the cultural pantheon. So you know kind of what's going to happen, even if they just do it slightly differently. And especially us coming off the back of doing Bram Stoker's last year and going, balls deep on the whole Dracula thing. I just found it like again, I'm not, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. I found, and I think he's a really good actor. Dracula, what's his name?
Bill Sarsgaard.
I think he's a brilliant actor. I really do. But I felt that his voice was the same all the way through it. There was no light and shade in it. And again, I think that might have been to do with the directing but it just didn't feel anything. Show him, don't show him. I'm not going to be scared. Like the only way that you can try and scare anybody in a Nosferatu film is doing a jump scare, which is the cheapest way of scaring people. Think about Longlegs and how scary that was. Think about Hereditary, how scary that was. They didn't really do any of that. It was all undercut with this like feeling of dread that is just much more intelligent. So yeah, Nosferatu, I just felt was a mishmash of too many different things, probably too much money, and it just didn't work. Like I enjoyed it probably more than I enjoyed Wolfman, but marginally.
I'm genuinely glad it did really, really well because that just gives him. I'm
Yeah,
always going to be interested in what he does, and he's doing a medieval werewolf movie next, and then apparently he's
yeah,
doing
yeah.
a which I mean I love werewolf movies, and I'd really want to see that, and like
I love well-made movies, mate. Like Wolfman was a
wow,
werewolf
wow, well,
movie.
well, yeah, and but
It
he
wasn't.
no, I think it was well made. I think it was technically kind of astonishing, but it was like but
Yeah, the
I actually
script,
thought
the
I actually thought, and
editing.
this is always the case with sort of Dracula. It's like often the most effective bits are the Jonathan Harker bits. And I thought that worked really well. I tell you who I thought was brilliant in it, and probably didn't get enough kudos in the round robin of praise on the actors was Nicholas Hoult. Um,
100%.
and
Yeah.
Nicholas Hoult really, in the same way that Ray Winston in Sexy Beast assists Ben Kingsley massively by convincing you
Mm,
that he's
mm.
terrified of this guy, because in reality, Ray Winston would pull Ben Kingsley's arms and legs off. But,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he convinces you that this guy. I mean, it's a mixture. It's obviously what Ben Kingsley does, but it wouldn't work so much if Ray Winston didn't sell his fear to you as an audience that
yeah,
he's
yeah.
absolutely terrified of this guy. And I think because I'd seen The Order just before Christmas as well. That's another film I saw. The Jude Law, Nicholas Hoult movie about the investigation into white supremacist group that were committing acts of terror, and it was the first time that
How was that?
it was all right, and that was the
Yeah.
thing. It was okay, and again, it sort of there was a lot that was telegraphed, but. Jude Law and Nicholas Hoult are terrific in it. You know, and Nicholas Hoult he's a big guy. You forget how big he's not always cast for his size until he plays a villain. So you don't realize how big he is until they want him to be big, saying something like oh, I've forgotten the Angelina
Please,
Jolie.
X-Men.
No,
Oh,
no, I was
yeah,
thinking the
yeah. Those
Angelina.
who want
Yeah,
to die or
yeah, those
something,
who wish me
whatever.
dead,
Yeah,
and he's big, and they film
yeah,
him as a big guy, and in this he's a big guy. He's very still, you know. He's got that terrifying sort of quiet, absolute sort of conviction in his own messed up ideology that you can't argue him
yeah,
down on, you know. And he's really really good in that, and you know, and obviously, you know, and I think he really sells the fact that he's this guy in over his head, and he's absolutely terrified. He's in this situation that he has no control over, and I think he's really good. I thought Lily Rose Depp was brilliant physically. I had a little bit of an issue with her delivery of lines. She seems to struggle. But the lines were a bit ripe. I think he's very good at period dialogue, but in this, it just felt like leaning into sort of almost like cod period dialogue, which is the first time in a Robert Eggers film I've ever seen that. Because normally I
yeah.
think he's got this absolute kind of alchemy where he can do what is really hard to do and make you believe that people are, that you're listening to someone talk from that period, and it doesn't feel like
Hmm.
someone mangling, their version of 19th century speech or 17th century speech. But I thought physically she was astonishing. I thought what she did, in her transformations was brilliant. And I liked Bill Skarsgård's vocal performance, but I think it wasn't the film's fault, but it just seemed to lead. It's almost like they hadn't watched What We Do in the Shadows, because there were times when it just seemed to be kind of on the edge of
Hmm.
Nando the Relentless. And I
Hmm.
think I think Kevin Novak has maybe kind of ruined kind of Bela Lugosi style,
Yeah.
Transylvanian accented vampires for probably like the next 20 years, in the way that, you couldn't really make a medieval film after, sort of Monty Python and the Holy Grail without people sort of sniggering a little bit,
Hmm.
and stuff. So yeah, I kind of I enjoyed it. It was one of these things where it was just that kind of dawning revelation. I don't think this is going to be on my best of at the end of the year. It
Not
seems to
even
sort of,
close, mate.
yeah, it seems to
It
fade.
could have been, maybe,
Yeah.
but
And
talking about
I think there were moments of brilliance in it and greatness. I like the bit in the Gypsy Village. That was really kind of a little bit kind of,
yeah, yeah.
like what who are these? What are they? What are they to him? Or what do they feel about him? Are they friendly? Are they sinister? Is he just misreading the village? And I thought that was a really really good sequence. Yeah, and I thought
The
Simon McBurney was really good as Knock. I
Bernie,
thought
yeah.
he was great. But yeah, it was because
Nicholas Hoult.
yeah,
Go on.
got
I
him.
was just going to say about Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah,
All that section up until he escapes
yeah,
was actually did have stakes,
yeah,
and as you said, he really sells that sort of fear of where he's at and trying to
yeah.
escape and being in over his head. And Nicholas Hoult is a really interesting actor, considering he's kind of like a pretty boy, but he's always good in whatever he does.
Mm.
But you never go, fuck me, did you see Nicholas Hoult in that performance? But you never say he's rubbish. Like you always really appreciate what he does, but he's like Charlie said he was a chameleon. He's a bit of a chameleon, even though he's not like a character actor, like he doesn't change physically, but he slots into to films and he always seems to know what film he's in,
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
you
Yeah.
know? Because Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought was horrible
No,
in
no,
this
I
film.
agree. He
Like
was
he
awful. He was really,
really
really bad.
horrible. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing, mate? Like, yeah,
It
you're
just
meant
seems
to
like
be a
no
decent
one was
actor.
directing him, or no one had the kind of nerve to say just tone it down
Yeah,
a bit. Or I just think he was just fundamentally miscast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a shame. And Willem Dafoe as well. Like, I love Willem Dafoe. He's like really is one of my favorite actors. I just felt some of the dialogue was just a little bit weak. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was again the editing or the script or something, but yeah, it didn't feel. I'm always blown away by Willem Dafoe, and I wasn't blown away by him in this,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. I think he's amazing. But anyway,
But I think there's a real. It's interesting what you say about Nicholas Hoult because there's a real humility, and he tends to sort of put himself in movies where he's being measured against a bigger performance. So he's in. Everything's big. No, the world's big in Mad Max Fury Road, but then
yeah,
he sort of allows himself to be overshadowed by obviously Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, ironically, which are characters that barely speak. He's quite big in. I keep forgetting that he was in, and he's very very good in the Favorite. You know,
Mm.
yeah, he's terrific in that.
And
But
brilliant
you
in The
remember the
Great
women,
as
don't you? You
well.
remember the three
Yeah,
women, and then you think, oh yeah, he was in that. And again in Renfield, he's the
I
whole
need to
point of
see
him.
that.
I really enjoyed. I don't know if you've seen Renfield.
Yeah, no, I will watch it. I
And
will watch
it's
it.
like he is, by nature, he has to defer not just to Nicolas Cage as a character as Dracula, but he's subservient to him. So by nature he's diminishing himself because you've got this big
Brilliant.
performance from Nicolas Cage.
Mm.
Yes, no, I think he's terrific.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
really
I
good.
agree.
Yeah,
So I've got a few films that I saw at
big
the
fan.
cinema. So Nosferatu, Wolfman, September 5, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Really well put together in that sort of like neo-realist kind of, well, it's not even neo-realist, but like docu-realist way. The Big Short, who's the director behind The Big Short? Those kind of films.
Oh, is it Adam McKay? It's not the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam McKay, like a lot of his type of films, kind of like that. It feels like the sheen of the color grading of the film makes it like a little bit realer, less sort of poppy
Yeah.
and cinematic, and yeah, really fun. Really good, mate. Definitely worth a look at. Nice to see it on the big screen. Like tense and really sort of propulsive, like sort of
Yeah.
takes you through that journey. And yeah, it was really good, mate. Really well put together, really well acted. One of the main dudes, or sort of the main anchor. I was looking at him going, I know him. I'd seen him in the trailer. I was like, where do I fuck do I know him from? And then I looked him up and realized his name, John Margaro, and he was the husband in Past Lives.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and he's really good, mate, and he gets like a lot of screen time, so
Yeah.
be nice to
You know,
see
he
more of
was
him.
good.
But I did see a double bill of Parthenope and All We Imagine as Light the other day. That those two films were only on one cinema that's like over an hour away from me, but they'd been on for like 3 weeks, and I was like trying to work it out on a Monday. It's my day off. I can go and see the double bill. I love Parthenope. I then read some of reviews and people didn't seem to like it as much as I loved it, but I love Paolo Sorrentino. There are films that I've seen of his that were okay, but when he's at his best, obviously The Great Beauty, even going back to Consequences of Love that we both watched again recently, didn't we, a few years ago? Um, I think he's amazing, and I was just in love with her. I was in love with the world. I was in love with the way it's shot, the colors, Naples, everything about it. Yeah, I just thought it was beautiful, mate, and stunning, and operatic in a way that we don't really see films like very Fellini-esque. I definitely think that he's taken on that mantle of being sort of,
Yeah.
as far as Italian film directors. And I'm also in the middle of I've restarted watching My Brilliant Friend, which I read the first three books of by Elena Ferrante, which I'm really enjoying. And I'm enjoying because loads of the actors, Napoli actors, were also in Gomorrah. So all the alley kids and that, and I seeing all them, and that's fun to me. And Paolo Sorrentino exec that. So yes, Parthenope I thought was beautiful, and All We Imagine As Light, which is the film about the Indian nurses in Bombay. Did you come across that at all? That's an awards was mentioned in awards. I don't know if it got
Oh
nominated
no,
for
yeah, I think
something, but
yeah.
yeah. That was really beautiful, mate. Really very docu-realist style as well. It starts off with lots of sound bites of people talking about their experiences of living in Mumbai, but not feeling like they're part of Mumbai. They might have been there for 20 years. It got me thinking about like living in London for 20 years. Like I never really felt like I was a Londoner, even though you're there for such a time. And then
Yeah.
then somebody said, you don't make money in London, you have money. I thought that's so
Yeah.
true. Like you're constantly trying to fucking get enough to get your rent and stuff. Unless you have money, then you can live in London. You know, that
Yeah.
wasn't my experience of it, although it was fun living in London. So yeah, so yeah, Nosferatu, Wolfman, Parthenope, All We Imagine Is Light, and September 5. And maybe The Brutalist tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah. I just
Or
want
what
to
else?
watch fun films. I just want,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've got this. I told you now. I've got this like secret. Well, wait, it might be the last time I see anything at Cineworld because they've gone bust and they're shutting down Nottingham
Oh,
Cineworld.
really?
So I'm gonna have to actually properly pay for films now. There's another company taking over the site, View Cinemas. I don't know much about them. So we'll
Yeah.
see what kind of, if they do any kind of deals. But I'm just gonna have to like really really be diligent about hunting down the cheap days, 'cause, things like that. But I'll just see less movies, and just be a bit more.
No, keep watching movies, mate. It's
Oh no, I
fine. We're
watch
not. We're
movies,
not
but I might
done.
I might have
It's
to just catch them. Just be a bit more judicious about what I watch at the cinema and
yeah.
like catch
I
stuff
think you
on
should do that
streaming.
anyway.
Yeah, sure.
I have not always been so lucky in love. Of course, there were my 37 wives, but they mostly hated me. I had a dry spell for about 200 years. I have been very lonely, and the obvious fix is to take a bride immediately, preferably before the end of the month.
The mission has been completed.
Truly.